Hello and welcome to All For United with me, John Foster, MUFC. Got a lot to talk about tonight. This show is going to be dedicated mainly to Leah Galton, one that I cannot wait for. Joining me and Nat tonight is Rahul. How are you, Rahul?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure being on All For United.
Yeah, I know it's been a couple of months since the last time you've come on, but been really looking forward to this one. Raja, nice of you to make your debut on the show. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for calling me on, and I'm excited to chat today.
You guys look really awake as well, considering it's after midnight. My eyes will be asleep. Natalie, how are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I look asleep. They look ready to party.
Look, we are going to talk about Leah Galton, but there's been a few other things that's happened this week. So first things first, Emily Ramsey has gone on loan for the rest of the season to West Ham. Quite unusual how that came about, in the sense of the fans kind of knew before Man United or West Ham announced it, but she was named on the bench at the West Ham game on the weekend. So that's how we found out. Carrie Jones made her debut against Aston Villa, which is fantastic for a United player to be doing that at such a young age. Vilda Risa, it's all gone quiet, or has this gone quiet? Or we'll have a little talk about our opinions on that one. For those of you who didn't watch our match reaction show, obviously Christian Press didn't play, but the likes of Jess Sigsworth played really well. Martha Harris came back, Lucy Stan player of the match, so lots of things there. And also our Devs won 4-1 against Everton, so a lot of things happening. Even when our senior team isn't playing, still a lot of things happening. Let me bring Nat in first. What are your standout moments of this week? What are your thoughts on how this week's going?
Yeah, obviously to have Risa, I've heard she's partly might be isolating, but that she might come in after the international break. Rambo, I'm happy that she's gone on loan, getting minutes. I think we've said it sort of about our keepers, isn't it? Mary's got the contract, but Rambo going and getting a few minutes isn't going to hurt anyone, and I think it's going to be good for her. I think she can easily cement herself as number one there. They need to keep the goals out, West Ham, really. So I trust in Rambo to do that. The Devs, Carrie Jones. I know I saw a little post from Amy, and I can't remember if we said it on the thing, but on the last match show. But she reminds me of Tooney. She's that tenacious, non-stop, keep going forever kind of player. And yeah, the development team just keep winning. I think they're going to be moving up the league. I know they've had 3 games, 2 wins and a draw. And then I think with the development team, once you have a draw, it goes to penalties. So we won the penalty shootout after that game. So it's just onwards and upwards for the Reds. It was a good week, even though we're not getting to see the first team play. It's still good news all around.
Yeah, and it really has been, hasn't it? Yeah. Rahul, I think the last time you was on the show, it was actually the end of January time, so a lot's happened since then. How have you seen United, before we start talking about other teams, how have you seen United since the Christmas period?
I have, yes. I do remember watching the derby, and I was very happy because we got, goal. There was a lot of goals. It was very unfortunate because I remember I watched Leah Galton go down to injury, and it didn't look very good. And unfortunately, it was like a week after I wrote the article, so I don't know, sort of a a little bit of a problem for her. I think she's out. It was a little bit of a serious injury, so she's out for a little bit. But yeah, I've seen Manchester United play. I think there were a few blips in the middle. A couple of games here and there. I think Reading was one game that they could have maybe won, but rather told me that Reading can spring surprises here and there, and they did. And Man City also. So, but now I think just getting back up to speed, and Arsenal next week.
Yeah,
important game.
The massive game. And if we have time at the end of the show, we'll discuss that one. Rahul, you mentioned our blips there. I mean, what do you think the reason for our blips are?
I don't. I mean, see, the way Casey Stoney lines up the team, I really don't think there was a tactical problem in there. Maybe it could have been, it's just like you have one of those days where you don't. It's just kind of it's not happening for you. You're in front of goal, scoring, and then suddenly out of nowhere, they score, and then you kind of get a little bit more rattled. And for Man United's case against Reading, it kind of rattled them, and then they conceded again, and from there on, it just becomes very tough for you to get back into the game. Against City, it was something similar. So I think for me, fatigue could be one thing because obviously, the women have been playing a lot of football, and we're into that part of the season where you start feeling tired when you play every 3 days, every 4 days. And also, I think for me, United, it could come down to the fact that maybe because they're a little inexperienced, right, in terms of the league, being on top and everything. It could be that they're not used to being in that sort of situation where you're like a goal down, and where you try to regroup, and where you try to regroup and try go again, and try to find an equalizer. So maybe they're not really equipped to do that just yet.
Well, we're not that experienced as a team just yet. Chelsea are, and funnily enough, we have a Chelsea supporter actually on the show today. Thank you for joining us, Raga. First of all, just let the people in the comments know who you are, who you support, about your podcasts and everything about you.
Yeah, my name is Radha. I'm 20 years old. I know Rahul from before we go to the same college. We've been discussing women's football, I think, every day for the past 6 months. I have a platform of my own called She Talks Ball, which is basically a project I started just a personal, intimate project just to accelerate conversation and content in the women's sports world. We know there isn't enough of that. And since I watch football a lot, I do a lot of live tweeting and covering games and news coverage and things like that on that platform as well. So yeah, that's how it started really. And I think it's blown up a little bit because I'm sort of now networked with a lot of people, including both of you, which is really special. I get to talk football a lot more than I did before. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, the fact that you can talk to a Man City supporter, Man United supporter, I think is definitely a good way to help grow the game and all work together. And we'll go through all your social media addresses at the end. If I forget, just jump in there and remind me. Before we actually talk about one other subject, it'll be just interesting to hear your thoughts on United this season, Ryder.
Yeah, I think it's been just United season has been a mirror or a reflection of the WSL as a whole, where it's been a season of two halves, right? The first up till December, it was a golden run where we were like, is this really happening? Like, surely there's going to be some fault here, but there wasn't. And then you hit 2021, and I think 6 games, 3 wins, 3 losses. Sort of blips, as Rahul has mentioned, and I'll get into them as well. But we've really seen a tale of two halves. So United as a whole has shown their potential and then shown their inexperience a little bit. So it's really nice to see that contrast, but at the same time, they need to pick up from there, especially with Reading. They had slacky defending in the 2 set pieces within 2 minutes, and the game was over by just a handful of minutes in there. So I think using that and turning that around is going to be important because Rahul mentioned fatigue. And when you play in the Champions League and the County Cup and the WSL all at once, you're going to have to combat that somehow, right? Chelsea have managed to do that so far so well, touch wood. But that comes with experience, that comes with a bench depth, which I think United has. And it's just going to be very, very exciting to see them in the upcoming seasons. They need to qualify for the Champions League. I'm sure they're going to. But with that is going to come more matches, more minutes, and a lot more fatigue.
Do you think that come January or Christmas time, was you actually a little bit concerned about United? Because at that point, we didn't have as many injuries and we were flying. Was you worried that we was actually proper contenders at that point?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You were, and I think you still are. Maybe now, because of those 3 losses, it's gone a bit out of reach. We won't say impossible because nothing's really impossible when it comes to the competitiveness of this league. But absolutely, at the end of December, I was like, okay, we'll settle for second. Maybe, let's see what happens. There's going to be that United-Chelsea game at the beginning of 2021, which is going to be the decider. Thankfully, it went in our favor thanks to some Fran Kirby magic as well there. But yeah, I mean, United never ruled them out, especially after that first half of the season. It's really set them up well. They need to carry this through, not just in this season, but in the coming years as well, taking all that experience with them, and obviously the experience of the Americans coming in. I mean, we've heard players countless times mention what they've contributed to the squad. Even Tobin Heath standing on the sideline, guiding the players on the field. It's very crucial. So I think they were contenders. Absolutely, they still are. But for them right now, I think Champions League qualification is the big one.
Yeah, I think a lot of United fans think that now, absolutely. Qualify for Champions League, and then when we know that's okay, then let's see what happens after that. Some other news that came out this week, it was kind of on the cards. I'm going to bring that in shortly. Matthews from the Daily Mail basically tweeted out that, well, he did more than tweet out, he actually wrote an article on it, that the FA have agreed a broadcasting deal with BBC and Sky, which is absolutely massive. BBC, obviously, that'll be on the main channels, BBC 1 and 2, as opposed to behind the red button. And Sky, one of the biggest broadcasting platforms that there are, is going to bring a lot. It's going to bring a lot of pressure on the FA as well, I think, to make sure that they get things right. It's been on the cards for a while. I know that we've spoken about it for quite a while on this show, but it looks like the agreement's been made. Natalie, just want to bring you in on this one. Now that it's been confirmed, what are your thoughts now?
For me, it's fantastic. It's what's been needed. For me, Sky, I like BT, don't get it wrong, but for me, Sky is just different level of different games. I think it can change it. The way, men's football, the top tier, Division 1, Premier League, whatever it was changed through Sky, for me, I think the way that they do it, the way they analyse it, the way they build it up, I think if they do it properly, you sit round, you analyse the game, I think that's what's missing in the women's game. There's not enough, and I know that's why we love Rahul. We always have him on because you can see all the analysis. And I'm not an expert on it. I look at people like him to do it, but this is what we need. We need more of that. And it's all good saying, "Oh, look at this chance." Okay, that's great. I want to know about the possession and the heat maps and all these kind of things, because that's what football is. We do it with the men's game, so why don't we do it with the women's? And I think Sky will bring that kind of level to it. And then obviously BBC, with it being on BBC One. Anytime we have a BBC match, that's what I always do. I turn on the telly and it's like, oh, how am I going to get it? Oh, red button. Then it comes on 10 minutes before kickoff and you're thinking, there's not enough time for this. You need a proper, when you turn on any match for the men's team, it's half an hour build up and then it's the match. And I feel like this is what we need now. And with them paying money, I think they're going to do some kind of thing because they're going to want the viewers. And like you say, it's going to make the FA have to step up. I mean, I'm sure those guys have heard, but when they had the Team GB, they released it last night, and Hannah Hampton was told she's not in it 10 minutes or something before a game. What is that about? You can't. It's just. That's why that's why there's so much anger towards the FA. I don't want to say the word hate, because that's but that's why, that could damage her for life. Not life, but you know what I mean? That could really ruin her, she could be down about it for a long time. They said they were consoling her for 45 minutes. And why would you really give her that information before a game? I just don't understand. And, she wasn't of her level, and I'm not saying that's the reason why they lost, but, potentially the FA could be costing people points there. You know what I'm saying? And can't be doing stupid things like that. And even with we talked about it on here with Molly Hudson, didn't we, about the game that was called off 5 minutes before. You can't be doing that either. You can't be having all this, Villa, Arsenal, 4 times they tried to get it played, 4th time it finally, with Sky and people paying money, they're saying, I think they're saying multi-million. So, it might not be loads, but you're talking over 2 mil. Or at least minimum 2 mil if you say multi-million. So you can't be asking people to pay that money and then have sort of below par standards. So for me, it's like when I said it to Molly at that time, I said, it's going to drag the standards up because there's no way that they're not going to get games on if they're on telly. And it's BBC One and Sky now. So it's not just, behind the red button. It's BBC One, prime time. People are going to be watching it. And it's only onwards and upwards for the women's game, I think, because of this news.
Ryder, I can see you nodding. I mean, are you in agreement with what Natalie just said there?
Yeah, a couple of things here. So obviously, I've never watched game on BBC or on Sky Sports, but I know how massive they are, and I know what kind of impact they can have for the games. Another thing is with this deal, I'm hoping the FA player is still alive and intact somewhere because that's how we're getting updates and that's how we're watching matches. So hopefully that stays alive and hopefully they work on that because we've seen enough of lagging streams and hanging input signals and whatnot. So, but it's really exciting because absolutely, as Natalie mentioned, you put the TV on and you see that match and you're going to watch it. And that accessibility for any person in any household, they have that with the press of one button and don't have to search for it or sort of get new apps or illegal streams or whatever that might be. That's really big. And in the women's football world, we've been living off VPNs and streams. So to have this on primetime TV, it's huge. And yeah, I just can't wait for the impact. I can't wait to see the numbers. I always love to see statistics on how much it's grown. So I can't wait for that.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, and Rahul, I think Radha just answered the question there, really. But how do you guys kind of keep up to date with the Women's Super League? Is it just the FA player and Twitter, or are there other ways that you can talk about that you can keep up to date with them?
It's basically that, Radha mentioned, for us, it's just the FA player because, it's free for everyone who signs up, and you can watch the matches. The quality is really good. And there's comms and everything. So for us, that's the experience. I know we've been begging Sky, in India we have Star Sports, the main broadcasters. So they made a different channel entirely for the Premier League, and I keep wondering why we can't have that for the Women's Super League or something like that. So we have that here, but yeah, like as you mentioned, John, Twitter, the FA player, and here and there, OneFootball has a women's section. And other sports apps, especially I think Goal and everything also. So that's how we get along with women's football. I hope it can come to TV very soon because that'd be great.
John, I've been told that the FA player is staying because, like what we've said, Radha, Rahul, it's for me. I think I hate it when we're on the FA player. I hate it when that's the only thing because I'd rather turn on my telly and see it. But I get it for people in South Africa, for people in, like India and China who might want to watch it. Yeah, it's a great thing. And it's put it out there to everyone. It's put it out there to the whole of Europe. I remember that Tobin Heath game and obviously the whole of Spain was watching that game. The whole Spanish national team was watching it because it's such a big game. Man United, Man City, and they were all watching it through the FA player. And they ended up tweeting saying, this is what it's about, this is visibility. And, I've been on a podcast recently and said, we need things like this. Like, I'd love the Spanish FA to do an FA player. I love the German FA, because just to watch, just for me in England to be able to watch another league, we take it for granted. Here, we can watch Bundesliga, we can watch this, we can watch that, we can watch everything. But watching the Champions League games, I'm sure Radha probably found it hard and Rahul. But maybe, our fans are going to find it hard next year. I know there's something come out. Molly Hudson from the Times, a friend of ours, did a piece about it today saying it's been some changes. I've not read it yet, but, maybe there might be more accessibility in that. But, our fans at home, and you're telling them how they're going to watch the Champions League or watching it at 12 o'clock midday. It's just crazy for me. The big Champions League is everything, and in club football, that's the pinnacle. And to have games at 12:30, it's just, fair enough for the Conti Cup, League Cup. Fair enough, it's not the main cup and all this, but even for that, it's not good enough. But Champions League, pinnacle across Europe, and it's silly times. It's just these are the things that make me mad, John.
No, absolutely. Well, the leader of the supporters group. It's in your head. How can you help supporters? That this is who you are, Nat, and this is why the Barmy Army is so successful. On your mind is how can we help the fans? And the points that you made, just, and the points that me, Gareth, and Matt made on Tuesday on our Twitter live. It's all about helping supporters and helping fans enjoy what they want to see, isn't it? Just one more thing before we move on to Leah Galton. Natalie, do you think there'll be some WSL fans out there who may not actually be as warming to Sky TV with it being so mainstream? Do you think there will be some of the old school fans who like to keep it as a bit more niche and a bit more of a smaller organisation.
Yeah, I think some people are worried. Sky happened for the men's team, and then the Premier League happened, and I think people are worried that teams like Birmingham, Reading, Bristol will fall away, and it'll be that top four. And yeah, you can say the top four are, that step above, but you still had, I'm sure Rada won't like me for saying, you still have Brighton beating Chelsea. You still had the Reading games. Reading are in the Championship for the men's, but their women's are up there fighting, and they're a bogey team for everyone. I think us and Chelsea are the only team who went there and got points out of the top four. You know what I'm saying? Got 3 points. So for me, getting 3 points from Reading is a big deal. I know that other teams might get 4, but not a lot of teams come away from Reading and say, at the end of the season 6 points. That was a good. They're a tough team for everyone, and look at Bristol, what they're doing now. They're in the Championship. The men's team is not as major, but they're doing things. The supporters are growing and all that kind of thing. So I understand why people might be like, oh, it's Man United, it's this City taking over. No, it's not. It's there's room for everyone. It's just about all being on it together and growing it, and getting behind your women's team properly, 100%. Giving them 500 quid to play a game, like Birmingham. So, those fans who might not like what we'd like Sky coming in, it's going to be better for everyone because it's going to push them standards up 100%.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And there are a few comments about the FA player, and we know it's not perfect. It's very amateur, but it's still better than this, isn't it? It's more than what we had 2 seasons ago. So
yeah, and I noticed with the FA player, they've got replays now sometimes, so it shows that there might be something that are developing there, and then they're hearing what people are saying.
Yeah,
definitely, yeah. So we're going to move on to Leah Galton, but before we do, we have been running a competition for the last 6 weeks on All For United, and that draw is going to be announced. It's going to be live at 10 o'clock tomorrow night. So for everybody who's joined in on the MU Women podcasts and all the other All For United podcasts for our men's team, all you winners who've been put into a hat, that prize draw is going to be tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. So there's loads of names from our shows. You're talking about 30 different names, and a few of those names have got 2, 3, 4 attempts, 4 goals. So thank you for everybody who's contributed. So tune into that show tomorrow night, 10 o'clock I think it is. I'll be on it along with a few of the other hosts as well. So I just wanted to mention that we haven't forgotten about it. It's going to be live tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Rahul, so Leah Galton, one of my favourite players, everybody knows that, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say. So first of all, why did you decide to write an article on Leah Galton?
It's a very funny story actually. So when the first time I saw her play, I was watching some United. I don't remember which game I was watching, but I look at her and I'm like, okay, I've seen a lot of players play in the WSL, but I've not seen a powerhouse like this. I look at Leah Galton and she's so built, she's physical, and she's that tricky, unpredictable type of winger. And I was looking at her and I was very fascinated. And I remember John asking me for a Jackie Groenen article, but then I was just like, maybe do one on Leah Galton, because I looked at her stats, and I'll just come to them as well in a bit. But that's why I thought about writing, on her, and I mean, the rest.
Yeah,
it's the article.
Yeah, well, so
go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say we will break the article down. Just a bit of a background on obviously Leah Galton, who we might be watching, who's not a Man United supporter, who might be watching because Radia's on or because you're on, Rahul. Basically, she was obviously brought up in Yorkshire, went to USA with a college scholarship for 4 years, got drafted when she was professional, then decided to move back to Europe, where she played for Bayern Munich. Didn't really settle. She had 4 months out of the game, and then Casey Stoney took her under a wing, saw what she'd done in previous countries, and obviously thought highly of her. Natalie, just before we move on to the article, you kind of tell the story from there. So she joined in July 2018. You saw her in the first season. I saw her live in the second season. This season, she's been absolutely phenomenal. Just your thoughts on how she's progressed since she's been at Man United?
Yeah, she's different level. I call her the GOAT, yeah, because for me, she is our GOAT. And, she's, I say it as we're in the mud without her. Last season, when she first came, she was just there. She was just another player that you looked at, I think. I didn't think the very first game, she wasn't one that sort of stood out straight away, but then she started to develop and get better. She had an injury right early on in the championship. And then towards the middle, probably the second half of the season, we played Arsenal in the Conti Cup. And for me, she was a standout. And I saw her that day and I said, you're going to smash the WSL. I knew it because just the way she was running at them, and they were scared, they were terrified. And that's when you look at it now. Defenders are terrified of her in a way. And it's just, it's a joy to see. She smashed through the championship. She was part of the reason why I got so many goals in the end. Second year, absolutely smashed, started off on fire, scoring loads of goals. Then she got injured again. And when she came back, that Everton game, she tore them apart. She was different class. Yeah. And I said, that's what she's all about. And then unfortunately, COVID came, ended the season for all. And I think, to be fair, this season, she didn't even start that well. She scored that goal against Chelsea, but I thought that wasn't the true. But she scored a goal, and I thought, still good. Took a while for her to get up to her speed, and I know there was a few people saying, press should be on the left, and I said, listen, don't disrespect Leah like that. She's the best, because Case has been saying it since the start, since day, best left winger in the country, and now for me it's clear, mate, she is the best. And I know we're going to go into Rahul's article, but even in that, he says she's the best left winger in the whole club. You know what I'm saying? And that's sort of saying something for me. She is, like when Rahul saw her go down, when I saw her go down, I thought, that's it. You do think that. You think worst case. But I've seen, she posted a picture today, said 4 weeks. That's like a month without her. And then probably
she was wearing her this thing on her left leg.
Yeah. So she's got the boot off and she's in a brace now. So it's positive, They seem to be getting injured, but they seem to be coming back quickly. But we just need to stop the injuries now. Stop them.
There's a comment on screen that I just thoroughly love, and I agree with, and I mentioned it myself early on when we first started doing the podcasts. There's like a Ryan Giggs, and I've always got a bit of a fondness for left wingers. Ryan Giggs was one of my favourite players. Leah Galton's one of my favourite players. They're exciting, them dangerous. Ramsey last season for the under-23s, left winger, scored a fantastic goal last week. It's on Twitter from his own half. It's just I just really love players who can pick the ball up and run at defenders and make something happen. And that's exactly what Leah Galton brings. Rada, as a Chelsea fan, would you say that Leah Galton's up there as one of the best in the league?
Yeah, I definitely think she is. And after reading Rahul's article, I was doing a little more introspection. And it's actually very well written because he calls her the trump card, right? And that vital, crucial piece in anyone's hand that you want to keep safe, but is the game changer, is the deal breaker. That's what she is. And I do believe that earlier on, a traditional player was more valuable, someone who, let's say, a defender who would just defend and do their job well. But now versatility and adaptability and flexibility is getting more and more valuable. So Leah Galton, being a versatile, adaptable winger, has actually played very well into her advantage, because you see her now, she's up and down. We've seen those heat maps in the article where she's defensive against the so-called bigger teams and way more attacking against the teams that they can afford to go up against, right? So it's just beautiful to watch her play. It's really I just hate injuries, and it could be my rival team, but I just don't want to see anyone injured. It was really unfortunate. Hopefully she recovers smoothly, everything goes well. But yeah, she's definitely up there. I know we joke around with Kaz Weir and Lauren Hemp and who else, but no, she's definitely up there. She's one of the reasons why, I think Kristen Press and Tobin Heath have sort of overshadowed. They've taken all the attention, all the limelight, but we have those key players in United under them or next to them, right next to them, doing what they do. And Leah Galton's on top of that list.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Absolutely, yeah. So the first segment of your article, Rahul, is based on her like positions up and down that left hand side. So I think it was pretty much 58% of her time is spent on the attacking left hand side.
Left side, yeah.
But not as far attacking as some people might think. So it's not right up into the penalty box. It's more in between the penalty box and the halfway line. Rahul, do you think that could be to do with the fact that she likes space to run onto, or she likes to pick the ball up from deep and then run at players? What are your thoughts on that one?
I think so. Firstly, the number of spots on that map just goes to show, how versatile she is. And I was watching a lot of her performances. When I'm writing my articles, it's always good to go back to the performances and watch the player. So she kind of plays. She's very kind of a left midfielder, I would say, someone who can go back and go forward, which is why she has so many minutes in different positions. But I think, as you mentioned, John, talking about space, she might be able to get more space in those sorts of areas. I think I've mentioned it, in a different section of the article, that she's equipped to play and as an inside forward. She can also play as a traditional winger. So, as Radha mentioned, someone like a Lauren Hemp, or a Chloe Kelly, who you would see hugging the touchline. But Leah Galton can do that. And not only that, but she can also come into the half spaces, right? And play as an inside forward, where she can then use the ability she has, as Nat said. She's explosive. She can run with the ball. Defenders usually get scared when they see someone like that running towards them, and she can take it past them and whatnot. So yeah, it comes down to her using a little bit of space, but I think it's also the way Casey Stoney deploys her in a game. So if she wants her to be more defensive, she'll drop back a little bit. If she wants her to be more attacking, she'll go forward. Hence, the minutes played per position now.
Yeah, if for anyone who doesn't know what we're actually talking about, there is a link on our Twitter, and I've even put some pictures and images up of some of these stats to make it easy for you guys who are watching or who decide to watch it later when we're not live. And yeah, you did mention there about defensive duties, and I think the second biggest position is almost like a left back, and I appreciate he's played there a couple of times this season, which has bumped up the numbers. But also, it's just about her tracking back as well. So when we are on the defensive, she's right there helping either Martha Harris, Ona, or Kirsty Smith, whoever's there. She's there ready to put the defensive duties in. Now, comparing that to maybe the men's team, it will be interesting to see if Marcus Rashford or Martial or if those players, I don't think they would have those kind of statistics, even though the formation is similar. Roger, what do you make out of that first point about those positionings?
Yeah, no, I think it's really crucial, and her stats in the heat map does show how she moves in. And when you move in, you provide assistance to everybody within the center, and you're not just on your side, which is ultimately how they've been so successful, especially in, up till now as well, I would say, but especially in that first half of the season, they've been, I think Lucy Bronze and Wendy Renard, those kind of players really set the standard in where you just don't play your role, but you have something else to it. Like Wendy is a great center back, but when she goes up, she puts headers from penalties. She puts headers from corners and she takes penalties, and that's like her trump moment. And Lucy Bronze, we've seen her do the things that she does, bangers in World Cups and whatnot. So this versatility and being jack of all trades, I think has become more and more valuable, and Leah really provides that. So her moving in is very crucial, and Casey has obviously a say in her movement. And I think that understanding between Leah and Casey is crucial. And maybe that's why she's been so successful at United. You said she moved around a bunch of clubs and not had too much success. Maybe leadership plays a hand in that too.
There's a comment on screen about how intelligent she is, and I think she is. I really do. I think that her experience that she had at a young age, and obviously going to America and working to the kind of structure that the German teams work in, she would have picked up so much experience, and she's obviously took it all up on board, hasn't she? Nat, what are your thoughts on that? Like that playing up and down the whole of the left-hand wing is not just up front. She doesn't like goal lang, she helps and does a job for the team, doesn't she?
I totally agree, and like you say, Rashford, Martial, whoever's on the left, you do not see that as much from the men team, really. And it doesn't matter. I feel like Casey has put it into these girls, like, you play where, they'll play wherever for her. It doesn't matter. We didn't have enough fullbacks. Look, talk about injuries. We didn't have enough fullbacks at the start. We had to play her at left back, but she didn't complain. She didn't moan. You were playing against City. We were playing against Arsenal. She was there. She's still creating chances and bombing up. And I think Vicky sort of said there, but the comment before, she doesn't realise how good she is. And I think she's slowly starting to realise, because I remember just telling her, you're going to smash it. Like I said, you're going to smash it. And it was just sort of no. When Casey started to say you're the best left winger, it was like, I can't believe she's saying that. And I just always say to her, believe it. Like I said, the GOAT, man. She's our GOAT. And I saw someone say, she's our GOAT. And, I think she's underrated. People don't rate her as highly. I know, obviously, you were laughing about Casware and Hemp and Kelly and, Kirby. I know Kirby's not really wing, but, these are the names that are up there. And slowly now I do feel like Leah is pushing her name out there, and more people are seeing what she's doing and rating her. And, everyone knows, I mean, United fans devastated when obviously she got that injury, and, she's so pivotal in what we do, even, without Toby and just having Leah, but now we're without both of them. And it's a massive loss, but I still have faith in everyone else to pull it through, because we saw in that Villa game, I think Stanny stepped up. So it's not to sort of cry about, it's to sort of see there's a space now for someone to go and take that left wing. And like I said, when press came in, everyone's saying press on the wing, and I think Leah just sort of said, no, this is my spot. And now it's time for press to show, no, it's my spot. And that's what you want to see. You want to see that competition. So for me, if all the fans or the stands, whatever, want press on the wing, press wants to play on the left wing, now's your chance. Take it. Show that you're as good. Show them numbers like what in Rahul's piece. It's there to be taken. But that doesn't mean then just because you have a few good games doesn't mean, Leah's been doing it for us since 2018. Yeah, the quality of her position are different, but, I've seen Leah be doing it. So, and it's mad how I'm saying, but I'd rather have Leah than press on the wing. I'd rather have press down the middle and then Leah in the wing, because for me, I just don't feel like, like I said, she's our GOAT, and it'd be amazing if press does take that wing place for me. But that's just my opinion.
We talked about how fondly of Leah Galton, how highly we speak of her. And don't forget, up until just only a few weeks ago, Man United were at the top of the league, looking really strong. And she was one of our main players. So she's one of our best players. She was our leading goal scorer at the time, I think. Plenty of assists. She makes things happen. So that's why we believe, as United fans, that she should be considered this season as arguably one of the best left wingers in the country. Obviously, we all have different opinions depending on who we support and who we watch the most, because I don't watch too much of City and Chelsea. So I am very biased, but I can see what she brings to us, and it's a lot, yeah. Rahul, the next part of your article is the heat map. More along the lines of, the way it appears to me is when we play the more difficult teams, she's closer to the touchline to really spread the play. And then when we play the more weaker teams, the heat map is more towards like the corner of the penalty box, where she's driving into the penalty box, potentially more of a goal threat that way. That's the way it comes across to me. What are your thoughts on that heat map?
So again, I mean, my first observation when this came up was that she's put in a more defensive role against the so-called bigger teams. And because maybe Casey Stoney thinks they'll be able to exploit the teams in the middle and bottom of the league. They'll be able to exploit them more, which is where you can use Leah Galton's space and strength and everything in front. But I think for me, the reason I see Casey Stoney playing her in a more defensive position against the bigger teams is because, like I said, she can defend with her, like, how do I explain this? So whenever you have a very strong defender at the back, right, it kind of starts, giving the other winger, the opposition winger, it kind of presents a very huge challenge a kind of an obstacle that you have to get through, and that is Leah Galton when someone else is playing against her. So I don't know. I don't remember seeing Kirby or Kelly or anyone play against her that way. If I did, I don't remember. But it's just that sort of a thing, right? Uh, if you were to compare, if you look at Luke Shaw for the men's team, he's that strong, physical defender who's been excellent this season. And I think Leah Galton really comes into that category as a player who can, she's tall, she can head the ball, she can push push wingers aside because she's so strong. So I think that's why Casey Stoney puts her in a more defensive position against the bigger teams because they have trickier players to play against. But when you're playing the likes of Bristol and Birmingham, I think Casey's just like go on, and you have a lot of space to work with. You have your technique. Just believe in yourself. Go on and score, and that's why she is Man United's joint top scorer this season alongside Ella Toone, who is another excellent player. And I think, as Nat mentioned, it's the work rate because you don't see it in the men's team. You see it in the women's team. You see Ella Toone, who's an absolute workhorse in the midfield. She's just moving up and down, sideways, everything. Leah Galton does that whenever she's playing on the right or the left. She'll always defend her. She'll always back her full back up with when she goes back to defend, or she'll go make that run inside, which will allow the full back to then move forward onto the flank and give United more numbers. So it's just about a little bit of a tactical thing from Casey Stoney. But I mean, Leah Galton is perfectly suited to this role.
Rada, I want to bring you in on this one, and I know Natalie will agree with me on this one. We had a Manchester City fan on the show about a month ago before the derby, and we did a combined 11. And we basically said that me and Nat think that we have the best left side in the WSL when you look at Ona and Leah. How close do you think that they are to Chelsea, or do you actually maybe concede that left-hand side of Man United with what Ona and Leah are doing this season? Do you think that we have a point there, do you?
Yeah, I think that left-hand side, when you look at Ona at such a young age, what she's able to do and honestly, there is a sense of discomfort when I come up against Ona, when my team comes up against her and that left-hand side, because you're always like, are you going to get past that person, or are you going to make it to the goal? And that's a great sense of security for someone who's a United fan to have. And to some extent, Chelsea has that with Jonna Anderson. I think she's fantastic. She's super quick, and her crossing in is excellent. But even with Leah Galton and that left-hand side, her heat map shows one thing, but apart from that physical prowess on the field, there is tactical knowledge and there is game awareness. And these three things come together to make a successful team, or to have goal contributions or goals in general. So I think you can run around mindlessly and have a great heat map, but you can also be very smart on where you move and who you assist at what point in time. If you're attacking, you need to help out your forwards and midfielders, whereas if Ona is struggling, you may get back and help her out as well. So that's really crucial, and that heat map doesn't just show her stamina or her work rate, but that is one big part of it. It also shows her game awareness and when to move at what point, and her stats show that as well. So I think that left-hand side, and the right-hand side as well, I think your team is very formidable, but that left-hand side is pretty solid. And with Tobin Heath coming in there and Leah being able to move to another slot, it's a golden team.
And that's the thing. It's just such a shame that we haven't had a chance to see all of our best players play together as long as we could have done. We haven't even mentioned like LJ or Alessia Russo as well. So it's definitely hindered our title hopes, but so long as it doesn't hinder our Champions League hopes, then I guess that's the main thing, isn't it? Natalie, we spoke quite a bit about Galton's defensive duties, but how about Ona behind her, her attacking duties, how well they work together?
Oh, everyone knows what I think of Ona. She's the best. I think when she came in, another one who, I hadn't heard of her. I didn't know a lot about her. I knew she was sort of a young Spanish fullback, did very well at Levante, but other than that, I was just sort of listening to the people who are saying, she's got the potential, and I just thought that, people were bigging up other fullbacks. This fullback's going to do this, Lucy Bronze, and I just thought, Ona's a good fullback. Ona's up there, and Man City apparently wanted on her as well before they wanted bronze. So, she made a debut in the She Believes Cup for Spain and played against, and she was like one of the best players against USA. So when obviously we were going for her, I thought, yeah, let's go. And, I thought she's going to be one that everyone underestimates, and bang. So, I mean, and I don't want to go as far, but I'd probably say, because Tobin's out now, obviously Leah's out, Tooney or Honor, player of the season's easy. Probably Tooney will get it because obviously, top goal scorer, she gets a few more goals. That's what people live for, the goals, isn't it? But
yeah.
Honor has been absolutely different class, and to come in and just, shine above, just be the top one to cement that place. 20, 21 years old, cement that place at fullback for a long time now. I think that she's got it, that she's set the standard, and she different class, different gravy, and that's the levels that we need to be at. We need to be at the top levels, getting these top players, top young players, and playing that attacking style. That's what we wanted. We asked for attacking fullback and we got one, and couldn't be happier.
Yeah, as you just say, it's exactly what we wanted, isn't it? And it's working well. Rahul, the next point, you have to explain the last two to me in a little bit more detail, but this one is expected assists. So what has surprised me more than anything here is Leah was above Bruno Fernandes, above Tobin Heath, above Shaw, and above Rashford sitting at the top. So first of all, just explain how we got these numbers and what the actual numbers are, and then we can kind of have a conversation about that one.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it? The fact that Leah Galton is above Bruno Fernandes, who's arguably one of the best midfielders in the league right now. And, he's been assist after assist, goal after goal for Manchester United. You guys know how important he is. But to then come to this sort of a chart where you have Leah Galton above Bruno Fernandes, I remember I was just, messing around with this thing, and I thought, why not compare them to the men's team and see how far they go? And, I stumbled upon this, and then I was just thinking, okay, how do I, build my that section of my article around this chart? Because when you see Leah Galton has a higher expected assist, which is XA, the number, the amount of assists he's expected to deliver, it's more than Bruno Fernandes. And that just goes to show, as Nat said, how important she is to the United side. I think it also comes a little bit from the fact that when Tobin Heath was playing, because Leah Galton is so versatile, she can shift to the right or she can play somewhere else. And when Tobin's not playing, she'll just play naturally in the left wing position. I think that's where this, her numbers go up because she plays more games. Be it on the right, be it on the left, she's just providing assists every time. And I remember in the radar that is there below, and then we'll come to that. Her shots assisted per 90 is also the most in the league. I don't think Kirby or Kelly come anywhere near that. And that's saying a lot because they're very good as well. So this start just blew me away, and I thought I'd just put it in.
Yeah, I want to hear Natalie's thoughts on this one, because how can a left winger, on paper at least, how can a left winger be expected to get more assists than Bruno, who's obviously plays in the centre and who's done so well for us? To me, it just shows how well Leah's done. But just what are your first impressions of that one? Because just before I bring you in that, Rahul, last time we was on the show, you came up with this amazing statistic that blew me away about the possession being more on the right-hand side of the pitch than the left-hand side. And then I guess this is the one that's blew me away on this one. Just what's expected of Leah. But Nat, do you want to just touch on that one before we move on?
Yeah, for me, I seen this little video recently of Bruno and all the times that he's expected assists, and I think people get these XA, XG, and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, Bruno has the most assists of everyone ever. Bruno is absolutely different class, and the way he's pulled this team up. Well, that's why it sort of shows that when I'm saying Leah's the GOAT for this team, it just shows why. Because for her to have more assists, I think she's so creative. I think she creates so much chances, and it's just showing. And the way that she runs with the ball, so direct down the wing and whips it in, and that's your expected assist, I suppose, Rahul. Am I right?
Mm.
And it's just a shame that sometimes there's not enough people on the end, or there's not someone there. Because I watch a game and I think, bang, she should have had 5 assists there, and I'm thinking, and this is when it goes back to Casey, clinicalness, you know. And she said it about us, if we'd done this, if we'd done that, but they know it. They know that there's times when they need to score, and just be clinical and just put your head on it or just put your foot through it. And that's why, in a way, that's why we say Jess up in the middle now, bang, cross in, bang, goal, header, before. And hopefully when we see her more, that's what I want to see, if anything, press on the wing, Jess down the middle still, and then Hanson on the wing. I want to see balls coming in, because I think if you have that, Russo, the perfect game for me, Russo versus West Ham. She got 2 goals, and it's just from Leah, just bang, 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 bang. And that header was brilliant. And I think if we have that and have like your Russo fit all the time, have your James fit all the time, have Jess down the middle, or whatever, then you're going to see more assists from her. You'll see her up there. I mean, I'd love to. I don't know if Rahul knows, he probably won't, but is Leah Galton got the most assists in our short little 2-year history? I don't know. I don't know. I'm putting you on the spot, Red, but I would be surprised. I would be surprised.
Yeah, we can look into that because it's definitely interesting to know. Our Chelsea supporter in the comments says Lisa has 2. I thought it would be. Sorry, Leah has 2. I thought it was more than that, to be honest, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, and one other thing there before we move on to your final point. Luke Shaw was in that list, 4th on the list across the both men's and women's team. And it goes on what Natalie just said about putting crosses in and no one getting on the end of them. That's just like the men's team, isn't it? Luke Shaw has got ridiculed in the past for not having enough assists, but that's not his fault. If he's putting the crosses in and no one's getting on the end of them, then that's why Luke Shaw does get quite a few people defending him, because it's not always his fault. We're going to move on to your last one, Rahul, about the radar map that you've got. Now, you'll have to explain this one to me because there's quite a few different points on this one. So if you could just explain what it is and what it actually shows, that'll be great.
Right. So the way this radar works is the closer you are to the biggest circle, that start is your best start. And the closer you are to the smallest circle, that isn't really your best start. So, I mean, there's 5 out of 7 where she's very close to the biggest circle, right? And as I mentioned earlier, also when you look at so all these stats are per 90 minutes, so every game. And when you look at some of them, you look at final third passes completed, 2.4 per every 90, shots assisted 1.5 per every 90. It's touching the circle, which means that she's right up there, if not the best when it comes to those two. And when it comes to passing, passes completed 24.9, very close to probably the best in the league. I think there's a lot of defenders who have like passes completed. There's Steph and Magda, and they've played the most passes and they played very well. But what's interesting here is when you look to the other side, interceptions and defensive duels one. It's so tight. I mean, interceptions, she's touching the biggest circle, which means that Leah Galton is probably right on top when it comes to interceptions. And this probably comes down to the role, the way Casey Stoney plays her in the side. As I mentioned, the left mid position, not really left wing or left back, but the left mid position, which probably allows her then to, whenever she's drifting in, she can win the ball. If she's outside or as a left back, she can win the ball. So maybe that's the reason for those interceptions. And defensive duels one, again, that mostly means, winning tackles, headers, everything else. That's everything. And we've seen how she plays. And one very important point, I think, which I didn't mention in the article, but I kind of thought about it, was the way Casey Stoney plays is she wants her team to press and keep pressing, right? Because it's always good if you can win the ball high up the pitch, gives you more chance to attack. And I think that's where the defensive duel is won. I'm pretty sure every other player in the team will also have a similar number, if not the same as Leah Galton, because you pressing, you winning the ball up. So there's more tackles you're making, there's more headers. The other team's trying to clear the ball away, so you're winning everything else. That's how it comes about. I think, in my opinion.
Rahul, we do want to leave enough time to talk to Rado as well regarding the run into the end of the season. But thank you very much for that article. I love seeing things like this. We don't see enough of it in the women's game whatsoever. If people want to find your articles, what's the name of the website that you write for?
So it's called breakingthelines.com. You can visit it and you can look my name up. I haven't written one in some time now, so I'm just working on that piece. But you can look me up on Breaking the Lines, and there's a couple more articles I've written. So feel free to go through them.
Yeah, please do, because there's things on there that you won't see anywhere else. So it's just well worth just having a 5-minute look, and then if something takes you right, then read into a bit more detail. Absolutely. We just want to talk about the title race now before we finish the show. So obviously, with Chelsea sitting at the top of that league, it makes sense for Rado to have your say on this. First of all, what was your expectations going into the start of the season? Obviously, I'm sure you saw yourself as title contenders, if not favourites. But who else was you thinking is going to be your main rivals at the start of the season?
Yeah, I think at the start of 2020, there was always that big three. And that big three has been there for a while. And it's lovely, and it's really good to see how half a United season has evaporated the entire concept of a big three. Or maybe not evaporated, but replaced and sort of placed themselves in that big three, which is really cool to see. So starting off the season, obviously the previous season was cut short. It was very disappointing. I think Rahul and I also made a video on that a while back, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, it was disappointing to see that cut short. We move on from there. We start the season. I was pretty confident heading into it with summer signings such as Pernilla Harder. I don't think you can be anything but confident. And going into that, obviously, a good run of games. Unbeaten until this Brighton shock that happened. And similarly for United, I think every game that United played, they got better and they got better and they got better. And that sort of put a little bit of trouble in the sides of Chelsea fans and even the City fans. City had a relatively shaky start where they drew to Brighton, and so then they were sort of chasing the pack for a large amount of the season. Now they've hit their stride completely, and how it's a bit frightening now to see that. But yeah, it's, as I mentioned earlier, I think it was a tale of two halves of a season where United on top and the rest of the people are chasing them. Now suddenly Chelsea's on top, City is close behind. It's like almost a head-to-head to decide the title at this point. But all in all, I think the fact that we discuss the title race week in, week out on video events such as this, on podcasts, on simple articles, on Twitter threads, shows the competitiveness of this league and shows why it is unpredictable to actually put your money on anyone, because you put your money on Chelsea and Brighton's going to beat them. You put your money on United and Reading's going to come up 2-0 against them. So it's really hard to pick one here, and that's really what makes it so fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about competitiveness there. Obviously, we as Man United fans, we're used to being at the top, aren't we? Coming from the men's team, of course. And so, yeah, we've definitely brought that. We've brought that edge. Just a couple of quick questions before we go as well. And you can both answer this, Rahul and Raja. You're both still obviously in title races, you're in other competitions as well. Are you worried about the fatigue at all? Because as a United supporter, I'm kind of hoping that if we get a good result against Arsenal, we can still continue to win the same way as we did at the start of the season. But we have to obviously rely on you guys to drop points. Can you see that kind of happening? Do you want to start with that?
Yeah. I think personally with Chelsea, Emma Hayes is smart enough to rotate players and rest players in time. Obviously, they're not machines, they're not robots. They might get injured, they might get tired. We've seen Magda pick up a knock in training and miss out on two matches in the Champions League, but she's sure going to be ready for the weekend when it comes around. So I think there is always that risk, there is always that worry, that concern that fatigue is going to get the better of our players. But at the same time, that's exactly what they train to combat, or that's exactly what they train to avoid. And having said that, you have to understand that that's a possibility when it comes to human beings and professional athletes who put their body on the line all the time. But I think personally for Chelsea, we have enough of bench depth. We have enough of bench rotation. That everyone has got enough game time and minutes to be in touch with match practice, because there's nothing that can replace match practice. You can play in training, you can play however you want, but that game and competitiveness that comes on the field in a match, that can't be replaced, it can't be matched. So personally with Chelsea, I don't want to jinx anything, but I think it's smooth sailing, rotating everyone. Emma Hayes knows what lineups to produce at what times. She's known for being that kind of a leader. So yeah, hopefully fatigue doesn't get the better of us.
Rahul, what's your thoughts on Man City's point of view?
Yeah, it's similar situation, right? Because I remember when I was thinking about this Champions League game that we just played. We had a healthy lead going into the second leg, and I was really praying that we get to see Roosevelt and whoever else came into the side. I just remember Roosevelt because I was really fascinated to see her. And it's again, it comes down to what Radha said, the fact that the players are trained in such a way that they can combat playing every 3 days, every 4 days. Your body gets used to it once you're used to it. And I think for Chelsea that's a big thing, because they're a side that are drilled. They've become so consistent over these last 3-4 years, 5 years, when they've come to the fore. For City, it's still, I think we're still getting there. We have the depth, we have the squad, I think, because we saw Keita Walsh was out for a couple of games, but she got replaced by Laura Coombs. When Kaz was out for a few games, someone else came into the side. So it's great to see, and I'm pretty sure Gareth Taylor will rotate as and when he has to, and he'll make the right decisions. Especially that now that we have the likes of Barcelona in the Champions League, and there's a huge game on 25th April against Chelsea. So that way, it could come down to fatigue in the end. And I remember talking to someone about how both Chelsea and Man City would not want to draw points at this stage in the season, because it can mess things up, and then you're just thinking about other competitions. Chelsea have a Conti Cup final to play, then there's FA Cup later. So yeah, I hope that fatigue doesn't get to us, but then again, it's football and you never really know what can happen.
Natalie, I mean, do you think that we'll be there in case one of these clubs slip up, or both of them need to slip up for us to get to the top? Or do you think we'll be there?
I think it's good to have two rival fans, the ones above us, come on and say, it is a three-horse race, because I think a lot of people have been sort of saying, oh, that's it, done now, Man United are out, just because, I think that defeat at Chelsea, that was the one in our head, and I think that's what started it, sort of, I wouldn't say a spiral, but that's what sort of, then we lost to Reading. I think if we had just got that point at Chelsea, it would have been different, would have beaten Reading, and I know that's saying that, but that's just how I feel it, and I feel like that loss sort of made us, we lost that, and I think we knew the league was over. And I don't want to say, oh, we knew then, but I think a lot of us sort of were like, potentially it's over. I think, that game, it was massive, and I think we lost it and I mean, I think Kirby did well, but that ball over the top, you shouldn't have been doing that. You should have been defended better. I mean, you hear the way Casey, I've never heard her speak so harsh after that goal, and I think they fought their way back into it, and then they lost it. And I think just being on top is giving us that hunger. And I mean, I think the fact that she's bringing in someone like Boa Risa now to add that depth, I can see us having two quality players for each position, because I think, for us, we weren't consistent last year, and I think we've got that consistency now. Yes, we've dropped points in January, but the fact that we are, hopefully we finish third, it'll give us that hunger. And I can see us really pushing on and challenging for next year. I just think, I'm not saying that these two are going to say it, but I just think we can win the league next year. I don't think it's going to be this year. No, you don't think beat Arsenal and it's on. I don't think so. I think beat Arsenal and see it out and get our third spot. But I think next year, the names, what we can do in the Champions League, with Man United, and you're going to have to get a bigger squad for the Champions League. So, the names, just we've talked about in our transfer show, John, that are ready, I think, to come in and just sort of really cement ourselves and really, because it would hurt us. It's hurt us this January, and they know that they don't want it to happen again. We're tale of two halves. No, we want the second half to happen now, and it'll give them that hunger, I think, to drive on and to know that they can win it. I think Casey had to prove to them they could go out this season, prove you can beat City, you can do this. And we lost always 1-0. Now we've won. Now getting Champions League in a third year, win it in the fourth, easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm just thinking win it in the fourth, have that mentality to go out, win it.
Yeah.
For me, we probably won't win it this year. No one's expecting us to win it this year, but next year it's going to be even better. And I'm hungry for it. I'm so hungry. I'm so desperate for it. So God knows what they're thinking.
I mean, now Casey's hungry for it. I think her attitude's changed a lot throughout this season, if I'm honest. I think she's been a bit more outgoing about it in one way or the other. And yeah, absolutely. I think if we do with Arsenal, I think we can do things our end. It's just whether or not Chelsea or City or slip up. That's going to be the issue. Just before we do all our social medias and everything, can I just get a couple of predictions from Rahul and Rada regarding the Arsenal-Man United game? Any score predictions on that one? Rahul, do you want to start?
It's a tough one, isn't it? I see. Arsenal have been a little disjointed recently. They've seemed, because their games have been getting postponed, which is very unfortunate. They did, however, perform very well the last game they played. United have been doing well, and it's a very tough one to call. Can you just remind me who's playing at home, John?
Arsenal's at home.
Okay, that's a tough one. I think we know the reverse fixture was very tight. I think Ella was the one who got the winner when United were top, very confident. It could be a win. I would go for a draw. I think probably a 1-1 or a 2-2, very entertaining game.
Take that. And I agree with John Fry. Fans in the ground will help us more.
Yeah. Radha, your prediction on that game?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I actually was thinking about this before this stream started. But United are 6 points clear of Arsenal. But if you look at the goal difference, Arsenal are 34 and United are 19. And it seems to me that Arsenal turn up in bits and pieces against teams when they find convenient and hit 9 or 10 goals and then disappear and don't sort of gain points on a consistent basis. And because of that fact, they might be at home, but they've been just too disjointed and too inconsistent for me to say that they can pull out a win from this. So I'm going to say 2-1 United to win. Arsenal at home, they get a goal, but United, they have to do it. I mean, it might be a risk to Chelsea if United win, but I really want to see that win because Arsenal just haven't shown up this entire year and they don't really deserve that win, if I may say so, because I think United have just been flawless and a couple of blips here and there, but this will really regain confidence and hopefully end the season the way they started it.
Excellent. Me and Natalie will give our predictions on Monday night show. Please hit the thumbs up, by the way, guys, if you've enjoyed this show. It's always good to get other types of guests on as well. So thank you to everybody in the comments. Regarding Monday's show, so we're not going to say who's on, but what we will say is... Say that again, sorry, Nat.
Massive guest.
Yeah. The person has agreed to come on, and it's what I am going to say is it's a former WSL manager. So massive. Tune in. So providing everything goes to plan, that's going to be absolutely massive. So please come and support us on that one. This is massive, and yeah, look forward to that one. So that is it. That's 7:30, I think, that one on Monday. On our Twitter account, we'll have the usual Ben and Matt show on Saturday night, so please join in with that one. I think they're going to be talking about goalkeepers on the men's and women's team, so a few things to join in on there. And just everybody's socials then. So Rahul, if somebody wants to find you, how can they do it on Twitter or any other social media?
Yeah, it's on Twitter. I think. I mean, I can't say the ID, but you can find it on All for United when John posts it. You can find me there on Instagram as well. And yeah, that's mostly it.
Thank you. Radha, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Radha Lat Gupta. That's RadhaLathGupta. And my personal project, She Talks Ball. We talk a lot of women's football there, so hop on there as well. It's She Talks Ball on Instagram and Twitter.
Excellent. Yeah, well worth following and listening to. Natalie, where can people find yourself?
Natalie_17 on Twitter. Natty B on Instagram, and check out my YouTube channel. I've got more content coming on. Got 2 new videos coming out, so that's Natty TV on YouTube. And I've got some big guests coming, so check that out. But yeah, just definitely always on All for United, Barmy Army, get involved. Man United fans, supporters need to grow. John Fry's a good guy who's always on, so we just need to get behind this team to the end, get the Champions League, and then next season it's going to be a different class because fans are back.
Excellent, yeah. You can find me on Twitter, John Foster MUFC, quite an easy one. And don't forget to tune in on Saturday, 10 o'clock for our live draw. So hopefully one of the you women guests and comments and winners will get something for themselves. Thank you to everybody, and we will see you again on Monday night.